Back, everyone, to News Channel 5's continuing coverage of Hurricane Irma. Kelly Dunn and Michael Williams with you for the next hour or so. And we want to begin because we know it's what you want to know is exactly where is the storm and what is it expected to do, at least for the foreseeable future. And our team of great meteorologists led by Steve Weigel poring over every one of those details. And Steve joining us now as we come up on the top of the hour. Steve?
Yes, a lot of new information coming in today, too. Here's a look at the latest. The storm is just a few hundred miles off the Florida coast and not very far off the north coast of Cuba tonight. Well-defined eye moving toward the west at about 15-16 miles an hour, and still a very powerful hurricane. I noticed in the last few frames a little dry air trying to work in around the center. Noticed that earlier too. Sometimes when that dry air gets entrained very close to the center, you can see some weakening. At this time, it just looks like probably a short-term thing. In fact, the official forecast has this going from a Category 4 to a 5, and right now, as we speak, the winds are 155, so 2 miles an hour stronger. Right now it's a Category 4, 2 miles an hour stronger, and it is a Category 5. So here's the track right along the north coast of Cuba, and there are some questions tonight just how much interaction there will be and how much weakening may take place on this track with being so close to the coast of Cuba. And then there's that turn Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. Well, actually, there's the early Sunday position. So just after midnight, we have it going from a 4 to a 5, so 160 mile an hour winds. Seems reasonable with this hurricane. It was 185 not too long ago in the middle of the week. And then a landfall as a 4 or 5 through the Keys first. I took a closer look at what Keys might be an impact spot. It doesn't appear to be Key West at this point, but it does appear to be in the lower Keys and obviously the middle Keys are going to take the brunt of this too because they're on the right side of that track. And there's another landfall possible Sunday 2 p.m. as a Category 4, and then very close or over Fort Myers as a Category 4. And this is Sunday late afternoon through the evening hours as it works up on the western side of the lake. But you'll notice there's been even another shift to the west now. Last night we had all the tracks and the official forecast right over the lake. Now we've seen a significant shift to the west. And you have to be optimistic about that, but at the same time, watch it closely because we are still in the error cone here as we get out 3, 4, 5 days it moves up to the north. So this is still a storm we have to watch very closely, but it's been a nice trend for us during the day, not so much for Tampa and Fort Myers, and even Orlando could get some very, very strong winds from this. And this is why I know you know and I know there are thousands of people who evacuated from here and went to the west coast of Florida, and tonight they're wondering why, because this was a threat for the entire state. And tonight or tomorrow we could see a shift back to the east once again, so everyone should watch this closely. There are the computer model tracks tonight, bring this storm in across the Keys, and then a landfall on Sunday as a Category 4. And you'll notice the official forecast track is showing up in red here, and all the other tracks, almost all of them, are just to the east. Not much, though, and the European model has come in very close to that, too. The Hurricane Center appears to be pretty much matching up with what the Euro is doing for the forecast, and if there's a subtle change in that, they seem to adjust their track, too. So the next Euro will come out about 2 to 3 in the morning. That's will be our next run for that model. We now have a hurricane warning across the entire viewing area, all the way down through Miami and the Florida Keys, and all the way back on the west coast to Anna Maria Island, and then north of that a hurricane watch is in effect, which means for that area hurricane conditions can be expected in the next 2 days. And our probability of seeing tropical storm force winds still very high, between 80 and 90%. And even higher around the lake because they're closer to the center of this storm. So those are winds of 40, 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour. And the chance or the probability of hurricane force winds has dropped since last night along the coast, but has climbed around the lake to 45 to 55% Belglade and Okeechobee. And Okeechobee will climb tonight too on this track as the storm gets closer. So that's these are 74 miles an hour or stronger. This is when you start to see some, at least the potential for some damage. So our viewers around the lake, watch this one extra close. And we also have the threat for tornadoes Saturday night, maybe even into early Sunday. Any landfalling hurricane gives you both ingredients that you need for tornadoes to form: wind shear in the atmosphere, warm air rising. Obviously, there's lots of that with this hurricane. So those two ingredients are pretty good conditions for at least isolated tornadoes. Here's the timeline for the winds as they work in. Now, the yellow polygon here, that's the tropical storm force winds arriving to southern Palm Beach County mid-evening Saturday. So the times have continued to be bumped back. Yesterday we were talking about mid-afternoon in Boca, and then earlier today it was 6 p.m. and now we're looking at 8 and 9 p.m. and then moving up into Martin County and the rest actually of the Treasure Coast as we get into around midnight or even early morning just before sunrise for Vero and Sebastian. So that timeline has changed, and we adjust the graphics a little bit because of that. So today and tonight, not bad, a little breezy and some stray showers and squalls coming in. Tomorrow morning should be good, but by the afternoon we're starting to get into the outer feeder bands, some gusty winds, some rain squalls, and probably a slight tornado threat by the afternoon. Certainly tomorrow evening there will be a tornado threat around. Tropical storm conditions are expected. Torrential rains. We're still looking at significant rainfall here, and the possibility for hurricane conditions Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening that'll higher, actually dramatically higher around the lake now, and heavy rains. There's a flooding potential. It's about 5 to 8 inches of rain roughly with this thing, but the issue is that it comes down in a very short period of time. So, you know, drains and drainage systems just can't handle that. And there will be, it still looks like a storm surge, but not significant on this track. So I would say today's model runs and the official forecasts obviously have everyone a little bit more optimistic, at least in this area, that the worst of the weather stays to the west. But I caution you, we're still in the error cone, and we all know now about that windshield wiper effect, and the tracks tonight could shift east once again. So watch it close.
Yeah, you weren't